The following program contains coarse language and mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from the prairie plains of Canada, direct from Winnipeg, Manitoba, around the globe and across all 24 time zones, at blazing speeds on the internet. It's time for the R-rated podcast talk show that promises straight talk and no bullshit. It's Night Talk with your host, Dr. Talk. No topic too taboo, nothing's too risque. He takes it all on for your entertainment. So settle in, turn it up, and tune in for Night Talk with Dr. Talk.
All right, gang, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Night Talk. This is Dr. Talk with you. And, of course, our guest tonight, as promised, Big Daddy Tazz. Hey, Tazz, welcome to the show, buddy.
Well, thank you very much. Promised twice before, by the way, as well.
Yes.
One time technical problems on both our ends, and then when I was in British Columbia, no internet for anybody in the area for a while. So it was kind of, we called them and they said, "Oh, just send us an email." Well, we'd like to, but there's no internet. So,
yeah.
So thanks for having me on here.
Glad you're back.
Yay.
So how was BC?
BC was much warmer than Winnipeg, and I found out actually much warmer than Red Deer. I was in Red Deer the other day, minus 42 when I woke up. So that's it was nice that they brought the Winnipeg weather, to make me feel at home. But I love British Columbia. I love my home provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. I consider myself a 100% prairie boy. But my wife-to-be, Lala, lives in Summerland, British Columbia, between Penticton and Kelowna, right on the Okanagan. And it's kind of magical out there. There's just something about the mountains and the mountains and the water and things like that. So it was great. And the shows went really well. I had a little visit with my cousin's son's school. So he's 6 years old now. And I'm sitting in the front in the library in front of these kids. And they give me like a office chair to sit on. And I sit and the thing goes gunk, falls right down. And this little girl right in the front row, little K girl, little 5-year-old girl goes, "It's 'cause you're fat." I went, "Pardon me?" "It's 'cause you're fat." I said, "Oh, really? You're calling me because I'm fat here on the wrap-up of Kindness Week? That's nice." She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's 'cause you're bigger."
Oh, yes.
I went, "That's much better." She goes, "I shouldn't have said that you were fat, but it's really the first thing I noticed." I was like, this is awesome. Zero filtered, brother.
Honesty out of the mouths of babes, right?
Well, I hope it's not honest. I hope it's not the first thing she noticed. I was wearing a bright pink shirt, and maybe that should have been the first thing she noticed, but she's like, "It's fine."
So you were working while you were out there and working your way on your way back too, because you also stopped in Alberta, right?
Yeah, I was did a show for it's called CATCA, which is Central Alberta Teachers something else. As far as I don't know, and it was for other teachers in that area, and it was really probably the best show I've had in a year or two. It was one of those shows where you stepped on stage and they were appreciative, and from the moment I got on to the moment that I got off to a massive standing ovation, it was just, it all went well. Even the part where I messed up, or after having this, we were talking a bit earlier, I had that bit of a head injury. So not bit of a head injury. So my brain sometimes on stage will just shut off for a second and go, "Hey, do you know where you are?" And my other part of my brain goes, "Nope." I'll go look around and then start, right?
Yeah.
Even they embraced that. It was just great. And I have a big love for first responders and teachers, because both of those groups of people have saved my life. So happy about that.
Yeah. Super. So originally, this is the second time that we're doing this.
Yes.
because the first time was filled with
It was God didn't want us to talk that day. No matter
no.
what we did, you're like, can you see me? I said, I can't see you. Oh, let's try this. Okay. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Okay, let's try it over the phone. Okay. And so and there was all that scratchiness from the one microphone and things like that.
Yeah.
But we're here now. I get to see you.
Yeah.
You and I you look like my little brother, except for you got those fancy glasses. Hang on. Let me I don't have those, but there you go.
There you
That's
are.
what we'll do. This is great. Now I look like Roz from Monsters Incorporated.
Or the church lady from Saturday Night Live.
Well, isn't that special?
Isn't that special?
Isn't that special? Okay, these actually hurt. Ouch. Okay, the things I do to make you laugh, dude. Or
So
we could do Elton John, Rocket Man.
there you
I don't have my sunglasses, brother. That's why you're the doctor, and I seem to be the patient.
Yes. So originally,
Yes.
this came about because I first came across Tazzy on Facebook when I saw him reading to kids on Facebook. Put the little nightcap on
Yep.
and the fuzzy sweater and the kid's book.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what a sweet thing to do. So I clicked friend, request, and follow. And I got a notification that he accepted my friend request. And I started to see him in my feed that he was doing this, that, and the other. And then I noticed that there were certain things that were popping up about Taz, that he was speaking at this engagement and that engagement and the other. And there was a common thread that these were all having to do with mental health. And that piqued my interest. So, long story short, fast forward, I don't even know how long, a number of years anyway, when it got to the point where I got the podcast going. Taz was my first choice for my first guest. And I contacted him on Facebook. I said, I'd like to have you on. I want you to come on and talk about mental health and your involvement with it.
Mm-hmm.
So now that the wires are plugged in where they're supposed to be, the cameras are pointed where they're supposed to be,
Yes, sir.
let's get down to business.
Perfect. As long as the wires are connected in my head, we'll be fine as well.
That's right. So, Tazzy, we both have our own brand of suffering, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
ailments,
Challenging.
challenges.
Challenges.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are yours?
Oh, dude. This is only a 2-hour podcast. I don't even know where to start. I I live with mental illnesses. I live with bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, attention deficit disorder. There's lots of disorder in my life. I'm just disordered. And then there's dyslexia, social anxiety, anxiety, and yeah, that's depression. But I don't seem to, I shouldn't say I don't seem to suffer, because I've been suffering. It feels like suffering the last couple months for sure. It's been very hard on my heart and my brain, and trying to get those back into sync. But you know what? I was talking to my psychiatrist the other day, who's real, and he said to me, "You know what? I'm kind of glad you suffer." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Well, the work that you do for others, because you suffer, it helps other people." And around the same time, I got an email from a lady that said, "You getting emotionally naked on stage and bearing your soul makes my life easier." And I said, I went and talked to Lala, that's my wife who's real, and she said, "That's awesome. That's beautiful." And then of course, Weebies, my youngest son, goes, "Well, she either means that you're helping her or she's looking at you and my life sucks, but at least I'm not Taz."
Mm.
And I post both happy and sad, and confident and scared, because I think it's important for people to see that somebody who struggles can still talk about it. And when people see me struggling, and then the next day or maybe a week later or maybe even that later that afternoon, I put on there that hey, things have worked out and it's better, and I just needed to get up and I needed to get out, and there's hope, right? And that's what, and I know that's what we want to do with this podcast too, is to bring hope to people that feel that they can't anymore. And what we want to do is make sure that we bring hope, because when we bring hope, we bring light. And when there's no hope, there's no light. And light, of course, means darkness, and darkness equals the thoughts and the actions that you have. So I'm all about trying to find people, their light, be the light for other people. But I'm not as good at letting other people be the light for me, and I'm learning that.
Okay. You've had your therapist for how long?
Oh my gosh, over 20 years I've had this fella.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
100%. Oh yeah, he's been awesome. He's really great. And I got the therapist, and I'll tell you the story how I got the therapist. You can just tell me no story, Taz, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So I made the announcement, I think in 2001, and it made a big splash in the newspaper. It was supposed to be about me going to Just for Laughs, and Gordon Sinclair, who used to be with the Free Press, wrote
Mm-hmm.
a full page article on the fact that that's what it was. That's what it was supposed to be about. So we met for lunch, or breakfast. Actually, we met for breakfast. It doesn't matter. That's the OCD part of me. So we met for breakfast at the old Club St. B, and because I was bouncing there part time, and he said, "I'm sorry that you've been feeling ill and not being able to, meet with me." And I said, "Well," and I don't know, to this day, I don't know why I said, "Well, I lied to you. It's not that I've been feeling ill. I just been so depressed I couldn't get out of bed and I didn't feel like it was worth it." And he goes, "Oh yeah, me too." And then we started talking about it. And that breakfast turned into lunch, turned into, I think we started at like maybe 9:30 in the morning. And I think we talked about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
And so he went and was supposed to write a little article on me about winning the contest and going to Just for Laughs for the new faces and blah, 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 blah. He phones me 2 days later and says, "I'm going to read you the article." And it turned out to be about my struggles. And I went, "No, you can't print that. That's not in my brain." But my mouth said, "Yeah, sounds good. Uh, get on it, because I'm going to hang up right now, because otherwise I'm going to say no." And because I had been talking to a friend of mine who was struggling, and he said, "I don't know anybody that struggles like this," and I kept my mouth shut. And so the article came out, and then I got hooked up with the two. I got the article came out, and it was very well received. And then I got hooked up with the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba. We decided to do a fundraiser. So we do a fundraiser. The morning of the fundraiser, I've never felt so despondent in my life. And I phoned Bev Trechik at the time. Bev was the executive director, and I said, "Bev, I can't do this. I'm doing everything I can not to take my life today. I just can't. I won't do it, but I know that I just can't. I just can't." And she goes, "You can't kill yourself. I sold 200 tickets to this event. Get your ass down here and help me put some tables together and chairs and get your ass down to the St. B." I'm like, "Okay, I'm on my way." And she said, "Well, what about your psychiatrist?" I said, "I don't have a psychiatrist. I had one earlier that had said to me that I shouldn't have children, because the damaged part of my DNA, which is my mental illnesses, will get passed on to children, and that's not good for the world."
Isn't that nice?
So Bev found Dr. Gordon, and we met, and There's times where I'm just as much of a therapist for him as he is for me. Usually, the first 10 minutes, because we'll do phone ones now, because during COVID we did online or phone, and the last one we did a couple of days ago was just like the first 10 minutes with us just laughing and being arseholes to each other, I mentioned that I was going to get this, I was up for this, this award. Did I mention that to you? And he goes, yeah, you mentioned it to me, you egotistical bastard. And I'm like, okay, fine, right? And I said, oh, that's perfect. How are those? I said, how are those empathy courses coming for you and stuff like that? So he's in his 80s, and I think he's awesome, and he does more than just prescribe medication. He takes and he listens and he talks, and by the end, usually if I have something wrong in my something that's really bothering me, if my brain's being an asshole to me, by the time we're done talking, I've figured out what's wrong, because he leads me there.
Oh, nice.
Instead of him telling me, which sometimes it was, just tell me what's wrong. He goes, well, let's explore this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Listen, Magellan, I just want you to tell me what's going on.
The end.
The end. Sorry.
I'm
Period.
I was waiting for continuation.
Oh, sorry. I just, yeah. So that's me.
Okay. So with all these disorders,
Mm-hmm. And those orders and these orders and disorder, yes.
And dem orders.
Dem orders.
What about medication? Are you on a heavy regime of medication?
I am not on a heavy regime of medication. I'm on we're exploring a new antidepressant for me, but I'm on lithium right now, so we wanted to up my lithium a little bit, but lithium sometimes will play havoc with my my belly, and that's a big belly to have. So some days it's like, I'm afraid to cough because my underwear will be nothing more than a filter, right? So trying to trying to get back onto meds. I do a lot of natural things. I do. I start my day with liquid vitamin D, liquid vitamin B, omega-3 oil, and some zinc and other stuff. I should probably figure out what it is. And then some, yeah, that's heroin. I do, that was a joke. I do CBD. I do my CBD oil.
I saw a little hint of Jonathan Winter there in you.
Yeah, maybe.
Is he one of your favorites?
Jonathan Winters is one of my favorites. If your boat doesn't come in, swim out to it, right?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Winters is one of my favorite. He was just so good. Like, he would take a subject and just run with it until you see him on Carson, right? And just take a back and forth, and then all of a sudden something will hit, and he's like, let's just run with that.
Yeah.
It's my whole show before I got a show was just talking to the crowd for an hour and just being silly and talking. And I loved doing that. I love the off the cuff kind of a thing. Right. And so I'll take that as a compliment for sure.
Absolutely.
Medications.
Yeah.
So I take, and then I take CBD, which is the CBD oil. Not only does it help my joints and my pains in my neck and back and hands and stuff, but it really helps. It helps with depression, and I try to eat better. And try is the big word there, because when your gut flora, which is what runs your gut, so your gut and your brain membrane are the only things in your body made out of the same thing. So when you're not feeding your body properly, it'll actually send incorrect messages to your brain. So, if you put the wrong food, or if you have a lot of fast food or whatever, and it'll actually create an anxiety, kind of a thing in your brain. And I'm not a doctor or anything. I just did a lot of research into this, and I'm not a doctor of talk either. You are. But one thing that I notice that is if I eat properly and I work out, then my brain can handle things better. My body feels like it's not sending the wrong signals. The problem with that is very rarely when I get depressed do I want the comfort food that includes leafy greens and kale.
Mm-hmm.
I like wings, yeah, wings and rings and things that are deep fried.
Yeah.
That's what I love, right? So that's what I'm on for medication. We're going to be exploring a new antidepressant for me just to see. Now, but the problem is when you're bipolar, you want to make sure that you're on a mood stabilizer, which is the lithium, because if you just go straight onto an antidepressant, it can spike you into a mania or hypomania or full blown psychotic, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very careful about that.
Yeah, at one point they did try me on lithium,
Hmm.
um, but they never diagnosed me with bipolar.
Well, lithium's a mood stabilizer, right? So it'll help as well if you're going too low or going too high, and or So there's another theory that sometimes bipolar kind of actions are just mimicked because as a child you don't know where the ceiling is, and you don't know where the floor is. So we sort of operate in between a ceiling and a floor. So when we get depressed, some people only go down a little bit, and other people just pile in through the basement, right to hell. And other times when you get excited, some people don't know where the roof is, and you go shooting up through the roof to the heavens. And that's basically all bipolar is. But there's an environmental component to that as well. My parents both were reactionary, like to the point where it was scary. You didn't know who was coming home or who was at home. And love was a weapon in my household, and it was withheld, and things like that. And you guys are not allowed to judge my parents, because judging is for the creator and little children, and we're neither one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Suffice to say, they were very amazing, amazing, amazing people. They were amazing people, but really terrible parents. They just really didn't know what to do. But neither one of them had good parental examples either. So I decided that I'm going to be the best dad that I can be, and become clean and sober and responsible for my mental health and responsible for my actions, and try to be the best daddy that I can, because I didn't want to be a father, and I didn't want to be a father figure. I wanted to be a daddy, because the difference is the level of constant love and silliness, right? So that's what I wanted to be.
Are your parents still with us, or have they passed?
No, they've passed. They both passed quite a few years ago, actually. And after my dad passed, my uncle told me all kinds of horrific stories about him growing up in the orphanage and the abuse that he took. And I told my uncle, I said, you know what, had I known this, we would have had a much different relationship. Had dad been able to talk about it, right? But he was embarrassed. He thought everything that happened to him was his fault. And that's why he hated all kinds of religion, because it happened at the orphanage was a religiously run home.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had no respect for religion. He had no respect for certain people of certain races. He had no respect, and that's the way it was. He was born in 1930, so he grew up during the Depression, some of the hardest times. And his mom and dad were both alive, but they decided they put him in an orphanage because they couldn't afford to have a son, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would do stuff like let him go to the orphanage for a while, and then take him out and make him work for a while, and then take the money that he had earned and spend it on, his mom would spend it on her and her sister, and then put dad back in the orphanage for a while, right? So not a lot of parental skills, not a lot of, it was a lot of self-preservation. There was a lot of, and I learned this too, there was a lot of, I'm going to hurt you faster than you can hurt me, because it gives me the upper hand.
Yeah.
Right. So that's sort of what I learned. And alcohol. So that was the big inhibitor, and It wasn't good. Alcohol and I don't we're not a good mix.
Were you ever?
Oh, I was an alcoholic for sure. I when my oldest son was 3, so he's 28 now, so 25 years ago, I decided to become clean and sober.
Hmm.
And I mean, I joke about it. I mean, even the other night, somebody kept trying to buy me a drink. I go, I don't drink. Well, why don't you drink? Just beer? No, no, no beer. Well, just wine? No, that's still alcohol. And he goes, well, why don't you drink? I go, because it hurts my fists. It's like, oh, okay, fair enough. I understand now, right? But I just not. I'm sure, and I know this for a fact that I could have a drink now and not have to drink to excess because I was drinking to excess to forget. I was drinking to excess because I hated everything about me. And now I don't hate everything about me, just a bunch of stuff about me, and I'm still working on that. But I just choose not to drink for a couple of reasons. One, it's kind of a badge of honor to say, "Hey, I've been clean and sober for 25 years."
Hmm.
But it's also what if I'm wrong? What if I have a drink and I'm like, okay, and then I just fall off the wagon and start swimming with olives, right? So I'm like, yeah, we're good. I'm just going to be like this.
No, nothing like hard drugs or anything like that either.
A little bit of coke, a little bit of a lot of pot, and some opiates when I was down. But nothing hard, nothing in the vein. A little bit up my nose. I didn't like it very much because I shouldn't say I didn't like it a lot. I loved it, but it just wasn't. It wasn't for me. So lots of drinking and lots of smoking pot and stuff like that. So
And that was 25 years ago as well?
25 years ago as well. Yeah, I just one day just decided, well, because there's a story that I go, it gets, it's like a 20-minute story I tell on stage about my son, and the long and short of it is that, Josh, he said to me when he was little, he goes, nothing hurts as much if you laugh about it, right, Daddy? And I went, pardon me? He goes, nothing hurts as much as you laugh about it. And that's when I realized he's right. So I can tell everybody about my problems. We'll laugh about it. We'll share. I'll learn from others on how to control this. And then I'll teach others how to control this.
Hmm.
Share the knowledge and not give two giant craps of what people think about me, which isn't true. I'm always worried about what people think about me. But in my heart, I know what really doesn't matter. As long as I'm a good person, other people's opinions shouldn't matter at all because they're not driving this bus. I am.
Right.
Now, some people's opinions will help me choose a road, especially if they're right. I listen to everybody, and I take in what they say, and decide if it's coming from, is it coming from a place of love, a place of jealousy, a place of just assholery, right? And if it's love, I listen deeply and understand. Okay, maybe I should be going down this road for a little bit. Let's give it a shot.
Well, like me, for example, when I called you last night,
Hmm.
I
I
called you
appreciate
out
that
of
very much.
concern.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not going to lie to you. When you called me, and I was doing a show yesterday for one of the neatest charities I've ever been a part of in Stonewall, Manitoba. There's a cafe and a restaurant and a gift shop called Something Beautiful,
Okay.
and they hire people with folks that have intellectual challenges. And I hate saying the word disability because it's not. I used to have shirts that said, "There's more to me than just what you see. Never diss my ability."
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
nice.
how about I'm not going to tell you what your limitations are. You let me know.
Yeah.
Right? So there's some folks. There's all folks with all kinds of different skill levels there. And you called me and you said, "Oh, I'm a little bit more." I said, "Oh, how are you doing?" And you said, "I'm more concerned about you." My first thought was, "Holy crap! Am I supposed to be on air with you right now? Did I screw up and say Sunday and think it's been Sunday forever, and it's supposed to be Saturday?" So there's a big. And why is that? let you go, oh no, just because of what you've been posting lately, because you're doing some sadness, and you're talking about this, and you're talking about. I love the fact that you reached out to me, but my first thought was, holy crap, I think I'm supposed to be on air with Jeff right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, Doc, just, well, where am I supposed to be? He's like, oh no. I'm like, oh, thank goodness it's tomorrow.
Well, I'm sorry I put a scare into you.
Well, guess what? It started in my heart pretty good, and I got on stage a little bit later, so it was fine. It was
Yeah.
good. little kickstart to the heart. It's fine, really.
Yeah. So you were, I think where you left off, you were talking about your dad.
Mhm.
Were you finished with that, or were you leading
Yeah,
off
you
to
know what?
some
I'll
more?
just keep talking until they run out of vowels. And I, I'm so used to people jumping in, going, "Okay, well, that's all we have for Tazzy," because I just talk because there's no off switch really with me. But my dad and I, we sort of we made up a little bit later, and I understood him a little bit more when there's a bit of an accident with my mom tried to smoke with her oxygen on, which started a huge fire and that started the house and stuff like that. So I went and I talked to the doctor, and I said, well, is there anything mom can take? Because she's obviously something's wrong. And he said, I can't get your parents to take the medication I wanted them to go on years ago. I said, oh, what medication is that? Well, your mom and dad are definitely bipolar, Taz.
Hmm.
And guess what? I instantly forgave them for the life that they gave me, the beatings and the alcohol and all that. I didn't forget. I don't like the forgive and forget. I think that's a big bullshit kind of a thing. You can forgive and learn, but don't forget, because
Mm-hmm.
when you forget the lesson. And if you forget the lesson, you're going to perpetuate the same things that happen. So if you forgive, which is good for your heart, like Buddha said, if you don't forgive somebody, you are tied to them for the rest of your life. It's like an elephant. A young elephant is chained with heavy chains to his foot to a big spike in the ground, and that keeps that elephant right there. And as the elephant grows and grows and grows, they use less and less of a chain, and pretty soon it's just a band around the elephant's leg. The elephant doesn't realize it can just pull that out and walk
Mm-hmm.
away.
Yeah.
It doesn't know that, right? And so when you forget the lesson, you're going to make that same mistake. Not always. So what I try to do is I've got an incredibly bad temper. Like they go, oh, you should take anger management. I go, dude, I took rage management 3 times over. Why'd you do that? Because it was court ordered. That's why. You'll do a lot of stuff that's court ordered. What's the difference? What's rage management? What's the difference? It's $144. That's how much rage management costs.
There is
And I think that's
there
the
is
test.
such a thing.
It's rage management. Oh yeah, it's just I remember saying something to somebody. You need to count to 10 after I reacted to them. I said I did count to 10. That's why I'm only talking to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so what I try to do now, even with Lala, and as having, if we're having a little bit of, if we're having a disagreement or a row, and I'm taking something that she said wrong, because we are all shaped by what happened to us in the past. So the other day she said something that just triggered, and I hate saying the word triggered because everybody overuses that word, but it really triggered something in my brain that went, you need to leave me alone right now. So I looked at her, and I could feel the hackles. I could feel the blood draining from my brain, getting ready to fight or flight. And when that happens, your brain doesn't operate properly, and I don't speak properly. I can be incredibly mean, and it breaks my heart. So I said to her, I'm going to go in my comic book room, because I'm a giant child with a MasterCard. I have lots of comics. I said, I'm going to go in the comic book room, and I'm just going to think for a few minutes. And then I'm going to come back when I know that I can say something that's not going to be assholish. And she understands that. You see, Lala and I got together, and I wasn't going to let her be in my life, because I said to her, I can't have you in my life unless you know everything that's wrong with me, and then make an informed decision, because I loved her. I knew that, but I also didn't want her to waste her time with me if she couldn't handle both sides of me. And somebody, oh, we have two sides. I go, no, I'm one of those dice that they play with Dungeons and Dragons that have like 20-sided dice. There's like 20 different sides to me, right? I'm and she's still here, and she's real, and she's awesome, and I'm a better person with her in my life, because I look at her and I realize she has such amazingly unconditional love for me, like my boys do. But I also know that I want to try harder this time. I'm 55 years old. I'm not going to change my habits. I doubt it, right? But I can change how I react to how I'm about to react to certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's a work in progress, buddy. I think what happens is you're like, okay, I think I'm good. This is great. I finally figured out life. And you die. I think that's what happens. I think you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell everybody the secret of right?
Well, this is just speculation, but the way I've heard you talk about performing, to me, it seems like when you step on stage, for you, it's a form of therapy. Am I right?
I self-medicate with making other people laugh.
I thought so. Okay.
And chicken wings.
Yeah. Buffalo?
Always.
Always, yeah.
Dude, when I make my chicken wings, first thing I do, I brine them for 2 days in pickle juice and Frank's hot sauce.
Yeah.
And a little bit of lemon. And then I bring them out to the barbecue and I coat them with some lemon and some Frank's hot. And then I'll take Frank's hot sauce and mix it with a little bit of ranch dressing. And I let them crisp up and then cook them really slow for the rest of the time. And that's my jam. I can hardly wait for summer. That's the other reason I go to BC, because we can barbecue all year round there. Here I'd like to, but I don't have to dig out my barbecue every time I want to use it.
Yeah.
I need a barbecue made out of a skidoo is what I need.
Or a garage.
Yeah, but you can't cook in the garage. Ask me how I know that.
How do you know that, Taz?
Let's just say I no longer have a smoke detector in my garage.
Ah.
Oh, man.
So as I was saying, performing for you is therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever... Gosh, and I hate to say this.
Go ahead and jinx me, baby.
Have you ever had a night that you bombed? You just bombed.
Well, hopefully it's not tomorrow night. Yes. I remember the first time I ate it so bad was for the Undertakers Association of Saskatchewan. I was doing the show and they were not buying anything for a couple of reasons. One, I took a gig I wasn't ready for. It was a corporate gig, and I was a dirty comic back then because I grew up doing shows in the bars and stuff. So they wanted to hear F-bombs and blah blah, which is fine because I grew up with a truck driver dad and an Irish grandmother. So the F-bomb. The F word was every part of the vocabulary, including a pronoun, because there was a lot of Tazz. And so I remember getting up, and they're not buying it, right? Mm-hmm. They're just not into it. I go, I don't know what to do for you folks. How about this? You yell out anything to do with the undertaking world, and I will come up with a joke. So somebody yelled out hearse. They go, I bet your tail will say his and hers. Right, like just stupid puns. Yeah. Then something else, and then something else, and then somebody yells out headstone, and without even thinking, he said Mick Jagger. And that's when I knew that we were on the same page because nobody laughed. And they go, that doesn't make any sense. I go, you said headstone. And I said Mick Jagger, who would be like the headstone. And they're like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not me, right? But it was. And I bombed a couple of times, and it makes me feel the last time I bombed, and hopefully the last time I bombed, was I was doing a show for I won't say the name of the company for two reasons. One, it's not fair, and two, I can't remember. And so we're doing a show for these guys, and I said the word testicle. And the owner of the company came up. I already been on for about 50 minutes, and and I didn't know he's the owner. He looked like some car salesman, porn star guy, mustache and slick back hair, and he's trying to grab the microphone away from me. And I'm a fairly strong cat. And I went, no, that's fine. And so he grabbed a hold of the microphone, and I grabbed a hold of his tie, and I just sort of pushed him away a little bit. And he goes, I'm the owner of this company, and we're stopping this show. I can't believe how crude you're. What? Crude? And I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your disgustedness over the adulation of the crowd, because I was getting rounds of applause and cheers and stuff like this from the table that he was at. Of course, the moment Mr. High and Mighty comes over and says something, his table's like, no, we didn't lie. I said, you guys were laughing too, whatever. I said, listen, I've already done 40, like it was 48 minutes or something. I said, I'm getting paid for this anyway. I said, what bothered you? And he goes, the word testicle. I said, well, why did the word testicle bother you? Because you're being a big prick, really, right? And that got a huge laugh from us. And he turned around, and everybody was like, it got as quiet as, when somebody walks into the saloon, right? Where it's all everybody's playing music, and all of a sudden, okay.
Yeah.
So afterwards, I went out, and this was at Gates on Roblin, so very swanky kind of a thing. I walk out, and his two daughters are sitting there, and I said, I'm sorry, did I offend you? And they smiled. They go, well, we've never heard the word testicle or anything like that, and we thought you were going to do the same show that you did in Winkler, which is, of course, for any of the listeners, Winkler's a highly religious community in Manitoba here, which, by the way, I've gotten 18 or 19 or maybe more standing ovations there. I'm one of the only comedians that they allow on stage at their summer fair because I'm clean. And I said, I actually did the same show I did in Winkler. Oh, she's like, oh, it's no problems. We just left a little bit. It's fine. Everybody else is enjoying it. And she's talking away, and her dad comes out, who is the owner of the company, and she eyes down, no more talking. And I went, oh, that's how this guy is then. And I sat on the steps on going to the car, and I just collapsed, and I started crying. I'm like, what a piece of garbage I am then, obviously. And then it took me a while to realize that it wasn't me, right? I was told to do something. I did what I did, and I'm on my way home. I start circling the drain. I'm like, oh, you're a piece of shit, Taz. What a piece of garbage. Blah blah blah, dry and blah 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 blah. And I get home, and my phone starts going ba-ding, 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 and I look. And it's people from the party going, we're so sorry you were treated like that. We thought you were hilarious. He does this all the time. One other person said, this is the last time I'm ever coming to this Christmas party. And these are from his employees. And the guy that hired me called me and said, I'm so sorry, Taz. I should never have hired you. I said, well, you know what? No, you shouldn't. If you knew this was going to be the way it is. And then I found out a couple of years later, they have a Christmas party with the owner, and then they have a Christmas party
of their own
by themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you, his words, it was like getting kicked in the heart. So I reached out to a couple other comedians, and they said, no, don't worry about it. I said, well, that's not possible with me, because I want to please everybody. That's my somebody said, what's your worst trait? I said, the fact that I don't think I have a worse trait. But then I said, It's that I want to please everyone, right? And it's funny. I believe the universe gives you all kinds of signals. You just have to see them. I said that, and hand to God, this is true. I turned on. I was listening to the oldies radio, and Ricky Nelson came on in Garden Party. I don't know if you know that song. It's
Mm-hmm.
a great song. You can't please everyone, so you've got to please yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, okay, maybe I'm wearing this sweater that's not mine now because that. So and I have bombed. You know what's funny? I've bombed so bad in my head, but the crowd loved my show
Really?
after I thought I bombed. Oh yeah, I came off the stage the other night and I went to Lala. I said, I think that was it was a 4 out of 10. She goes, Taz, turn around, and they're standing, giving me a standing ovation. But I said good night, and I walked right off the stage, walked backstage, and these guys, I thought it was a 4 out of 10. I thought it was because I'm super hard on myself, and here they had stood up and were giving me such lovely adulation.
Wow.
So yeah, it's I don't know why we have to be such blatant assholes to ourselves, right? Like I remember the first night that we were supposed to do this, the first time, and you were like, "Oh, come on,
Mm-hmm.
you know, come on, Jeff, what the hell's wrong?" Blah blah blah. And I was listening to beat yourself up, and I kept saying, "Nah, it's no big deal. It is what it is, and we'll do that sort of stuff." And you know, even today, right? The reason I kept trying to make jokes is so that you felt a little bit more like I'm not going to beat myself up in front of company, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like my son said something so inappropriate. Um, Nothing racial or misogynistic, just something that you probably shouldn't say to your, a smart arse remark to your dad. And his friend said, little Eric said, "You want to give him heck, but you can't because he's got friends over." I was like, I said, Eric, do not think that I'm not going to give him heck because you're here. I will give him extra heck because you're here.
Yeah.
I don't like to bomb. Nobody does. My job is to go on stage and make people forget about their lives for however long I'm on stage, 7 minutes or 2 hours or whatever. And so I love doing that. It's my number one thing in the world I love to do is make people laugh. In this order: my boys and my family, little kids, and then the rest of the world. And bonuses if I make myself laugh,
How
which
long is
happens
your
once in a
average
while.
show?
My average show is anywhere between 45 and 90 minutes. So 45 to an hour is what I normally do for comedy when they're hiring me because of that. If it's my keynote speech on mental health, I ask for 90 minutes. And then so we'll do 90 minutes and then question and answer afterwards. So the longest it's been is 3.5 hours, I think, with 90 minutes. And then we did another almost 2 hours of question and answer afterwards at this one event a few years ago, pre-COVID. And it was just, and then I didn't leave for a while after that because then there was private questions that people wanted to ask and things like that. So that's about between 45 and 90 minutes generally.
Okay. Um, I think we're gonna take a break, Taz.
Okay.
Uh,
You mean we're breaking up? That's what girls mean when they say that
no, no,
to
no,
me.
no,
They're
no.
like, we're going to take a break test. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Even podcaster people have to pee.
oh, you mean I could have just went? Oh. Oh, we're doing this from my bathroom, so I don't care. I
Oh
mean,
well,
that's
you're
you plan
set.
ahead.
You're
Plan
set.
ahead.
No, I'm just gonna put up a little graphic on the screen. So people that are watching will be back in about 5 minutes.
7 if it's upstairs.
7 if it's upstairs. Tazzy, sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we're back.
Awesome.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I just was listening to another podcast I'd rather be on.
Fucking prick.
Yes.
We're going to stay with comedy for just a few more minutes, and we're going to get back into the mental health thing.
Okay.
When I talked to John last week,
John Youngberg. Yep.
yes, John
Yes.
Youngberg, I had a chance to ask him a little bit more in detail about his process, quote unquote. What's your process for writing?
I just go on stage and talk, and whatever comes out, I try to remember to do it again if it was good, and if not, I probably try to remember it's not there. It really depends, Doc Talk. It's about if I'm writing for somebody else or for an event, or if I'm writing for the debaters or the Winnipeg Comedy Festival or something where I need to have something written for them, it's a little bit different. I'll sit down and I'll go through the notes in my phone that I've taken over the last few weeks and put stuff together. But what I normally will do is if I think something's funny, then I'll picture what it should look like at the end, and then I write backwards. And I'm a little bit weird. Well, there's so many different ways I'm so weird. But one of the things that I do is I dream a lot of stuff. Like I'll dream that I said that, and I'll get out, and I'll try to get up in the middle of the night. Here's the biggest lie I can tell myself. I'll remember that. No, I don't. So that's my process. Is I have to force myself to write. Otherwise, I just go on stage and just free for all. Just go up and talk about things until something hits, and then I just bloom from there.
That's sort of reminiscent of what Bill Cosby said.
What did he say besides drink this, it'll be fine?
Yeah. I remember seeing on YouTube a very early interview with him on the Carson Show. And Johnny had asked him the similar question about how do you come up with your material.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which show he referenced that he was on, but the host had met him backstage prior to going to air and said, just curious, how do you prepare? And he said, I just go out and talk.
Same here.
And he was quite successful.
He was, and then the whole Cosby thing was terrible because he was one of my heroes as a comedian, and it turns out he was, just a piece of garbage, right? And it's hard because the stuff he wrote was funny, and then you find out it was funny from a monster, and for a while there, my world was just it just wasn't it wasn't the same. Right? You take somebody that you idolized, and then you feel dirty for idolizing that person. But we didn't know anything that was going on then, for a number of reasons. One, he was a person in power, and flaunted that power in the most heinous of ways. And two, back then nobody spoke about it because nobody would have believed it. Right? Here's America's dad, right? But one of my processes is I listen to what other people are talking about often. And when I'm sitting around the room, and I will, hey, don't drink, you'll have to pee again. Then what'll happen is I just sort of talk about what everybody else is talking about in the room, or I'll talk about what I saw on the drive over. And then once once I get them, then I just go into whatever else I've written before. None of my shows are the same. Unfortunately, with this head injury, I don't remember new stuff very much. So I refuse to bring up notes on stage because I think it looks crass. And if you bring notes on stage, you do you. But for me, it feels crass because I was told years ago by Frank Gorshin, who was the original Riddler on the Batman series, and I got to work with him off and on for a few years. I got to work with him for a few years, and he always said, "No notes on stage, dress nice." We had these rules, right? And so people are like, "Oh, you keep using the same material over and over again." I said, "I'm sorry, it's what I remember." Now, if we're doing a festival or something like that, or a TV thing, I get a teleprompter, which is lovely. But if it gets any worse than this, I'm going to be having to use a teleprompter on a regular basis, and Lala will just be feeding me lines from backstage, and I'll have a little teleprompter. Lots of comedians use a teleprompter. I'm not famous enough to afford one.
You keep talking about this head injury. What happened?
So a few years ago, quite a few years ago, I was in a pretty bad car accident. And then I fell down a flight of stairs at my house, and I don't know how long I was out, but when I woke up, it felt like my mouth had been, a desert. So I was out for quite a while. And then I've had a number of concussions because I used to bounce in a bar, a fairly in a fairly notorious Electric Avenue in Calgary. So I've been in a number of fights, and I'm not as fast as I thought I was. And there was then when I had this last head injury, my hearing actually changed, and so I can't hear very well. I got hearing aids last week, and here's what I learned: sensory overload. Good Lord. I'm so used to hearing everything muted and not listening to things. And when you can hear a guy's ass hair growing next to you, like you hear ping, oh, ding, oh, dear, beer. What the hell's that?
I know that
Right?
family.
The baboonians. And so it's I've gone to some neurologists. We've had 2 MRIs. We're trying to figure out what's going on because my memory is not. They thought maybe it was long COVID, and they thought maybe it was depression, and they thought maybe it was from the concussions, but I can't remember things at all. And so my phone is full of reminders, daily reminders, and things like that. And Lala takes care of all our paperwork and gets things going, and that's why when somebody says, "I want you on this show," I'm like, "Okay, so here's what you do. I'd love to do the show. You get a hold of Lala. Here's her email address, and she takes care of all of that. I will take care of the being in front of the camera. I'll take care of being in front of the microphone. I'll take care of being on stage, but she takes care of all the bookings, and that's just the way it is. And so we're going to try some different things to get my memory, some memory games and some things like that, but right now they can't find anything wrong. It's almost like I'm hypochondriac. I said, but I can't remember things at all. And I ace the brain tests, but I don't remember taking half the brain test in a couple hours. I won't remember taking half the brain test. And one of the things that I've noticed lately is that when I'll say something funny, I have to say to Lala, "What did I just say?" Because I don't like it just comes out, and it's like a different part of my brain where the other part of my brain's not paying attention.
And the MRI showed nothing.
The MRI, well, there was brain in there. Don't be an asshole. There was, it showed nothing. And then the last one they took, they said, "Oh, there's little white dots all over your brain." But that's, we think that's part of the MRI. We think that's just part of this MRI.
No, I can tell you what that is.
Hmm?
I can tell you what that is because I had the exact same thing.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
white.
you are a doctor.
That's white brain matter.
Okay.
That's brain matter underneath the gray matter.
Okay.
And as you grow older, the white brain matter surfaces
Okay.
in little sprouts.
Oh.
And that's what shows up on the MRI.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't say that. They said, "We think it might be something that this particular MRI adds to the pictures." And I went, "Well, see, I don't like to hear think.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe.
Douse yourself with gasoline, and here's what I know.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm scared. I'm terrified. I'm terrified because I have very little written down. I have hours and hours and hours and hours of tape. and audio and things, but I have nothing written down. I mean, other than some of the debaters that I've done because they need that on paper, right? So,
Are any of your performances on YouTube?
oh, there's lots of them on YouTube. Yeah, if you Google Big Daddy Tazz with two Z's, there's a lot of stuff on there.
Are
So
they pro shot?
there's some, yeah, there's some TV stuff. There's a lot of TV stuff on there, and there's just some other stuff that I don't know who shot it, but I got on there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like cell phone video?
There's a couple cell phone videos. There's some stuff from some of my mental health, uh, some of my mental health speeches. A couple of there was when I got a mental health award in Ottawa. That's on there and all kinds of stuff. There's lots and lots of videos. So check it out if you like it. Let me know, and if you don't like it, I'm bipolar, so be nice to me.
Yeah. Have you got your own channel?
I have, I do, I think. I'm not sure. It's just my Tassie reads. There's probably 300 of them on YouTube.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So if you type in Tassie reads or Tassie reads stuff, there's on there. And I feel bad because I haven't been able to read for the last 2 or 3 months because I've just been so busy. And then I got super sad, super depressed for a few months there, and I didn't want to do it anymore because I thought I was useless. And meanwhile, these people are, are you going to read again? Are you going to read again? As you can see behind me, it's not like I don't have. This isn't a. I think it was you and somebody else asked me, "Is that a green screen behind you?" I go, no, these are the books and stuff like that. So I've got lots of books to read yet.
Hmm.
So I made a promise to myself that this is the last week that I'm not going to read, and I'm going to find some time, even if I bring books on the road with me to read, because I got some little fans that are missing me, and they're letting me know, and it's wonderful, right?
Oh.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. One of the greatest things that came out of this, I have a relationship with a young fella that lives on the autistic scale, and his name is Justin. And he's my biggest fan. Like he's just I love him to bits. And I went and saw him one time, and his mom, and he was I think 17 at the time. He's 19 now, and he I said, Justin, I said, you know what? My first video was got like 5,000 views. I said, that's 5,000 people. And he goes, or one kid with autism. I went, yeah, it's perfect. It is. And he's watched it over and over again. And his mom will send me a video every once in a while of him just laughing at one of my stories. There was usually the farting stories, like unicorns don't fart and things. I love fart stories, and so he's just laughing, and I should watch that video every day because it'll reassure my brain and heart that I am on the right path,
Mhm.
right? Because sometimes I forget that I am on the right path.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And
Did-
little kids, I did something called well, I was a friend of Santa's, just in case any younger listeners. So I had a thing called Santazi, where Santazi would call kids,
Oh.
and I did that for Christmas 2 years ago. And I would get all the information for him, and he would call the kids, and they were just mesmerized. One of my favorite pictures ever is a picture of one of my friend's kids who had a visit from Santazi, and she's just enamored with the fact that she's getting a call from Santa.
Hmm.
And then this year, I was able to take Santa to a visit with the Make a Wish or the Wish Foundation, and Santa had hurt his shoulder and arm so bad that he could barely move it. So he sprayed it with some medical spray that was very minty. And the first kid that came up gave Santa a big hug, and she's like, "Santa smells like Christmas." It's awesome, man.
Candy
My
canes.
yeah, candy canes and minty mints,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah. But you know what? I love doing what I do, and I'll do it even if it makes me uncomfortable, because by the time I'm done, I don't feel as uncomfortable anymore.
Hmm. And in general, how else are you health wise?
I'm not in great shape. I used to be full of muscles and testosterone and wanting to work out and be strong, and now I'm full of Doritos and false promises to myself. I actually went to a company called for Christmas. Lala gave me a something called, oh, the name of the company escapes me. It'll be in a second. Body Measure. And so what they do is they measure everything about your body. They give a 3D scan of it, and then they do a low dose X-ray, and it shows what your body's made out of. So Erica runs the place. She's awesome. And by the way, Lala always wants me to say, I asked for this for Christmas. It's not something that she did as an intervention, right?
Oh, okay.
So I did this, and I'm sitting with after the scans and stuff, I'm sitting with Erica, and she sort of goes, well, I just, I want you to, I said, Erica, is there something you want to say to me? She goes, I said, just say it. She goes, you have the most visceral fat I've ever seen on a human being before. And I went, my first thought was, thank God she said human being,
Yeah.
right? You know, you actually have the visceral fat of a hippopotamus, right? And so visceral fat is the bad fat, the fat that coats your organs and hides cancer and things like that. It's a sign of heart disease. It's a sign of cancer. It's all the bad stuff. And then she goes, well, here's the oddest thing too. She said, an elite athlete has a muscle density at around 11. Your muscle density is 10.77. You're not an elite athlete. I go, no, your eyes are not lying to you. I
Hmm.
am, you can see, I am not an elite athlete. And then she said, and your bone density. So she showed the chart on the computer. So low bone density is at the very bottom. Normal bone density is here, and then high bone density is a little bit higher. She goes, let me show you this, and she had to print it off on the sheet, the big sheet of paper. Mine was way at the top of the sheet. She goes, your bones are like indestructible,
Hmm.
right? And so she said, okay, and you have a fatty liver, and you have a very fatty liver, and a scarred liver, which probably came from the alcohol abuse, right? And I said, oh no, how do I do this? She goes, low carb diet. That's all it is. A low carb diet and exercise. And she said, and no sweets. I said, so there's no cure. She looked at me. She goes, no, like just low carb diet and exercise. And I'm like, okay, right. I mean, I'm not a big sweets guy. I like salty. I like chips and
Hmm.
that. And so I don't even say I'm trying. Every day I lie to myself and say I'm going to try harder. But you know what? I'm not being fair to my sons, and I'm not being fair to Lala. So I have to get on it. And for 15 years I had a membership at the YMCA that was just a donation.
Hmm.
So I'm going to try harder. I really am. And I keep saying I don't have time. And Weeby said to me, "No, Dad, you don't have time management." And I went, "Fair enough,
Hmm.
right? Even if I work out for half an hour, so what? My instead of spending the time sitting down in my other office with my legs going numb, right, playing games on the phone for a half an hour or 45 minutes. In the other office, I'm talking about the one that has a shower in it and is echoey. It's funny. Somebody said, "Oh, men can't multitask," and I said, "Considering what I'm doing while I'm typing this, I consider it multitasking."
Yeah.
Flush. Um, it's just I have to make a choice. I used to love working out, right? But I don't know what got broken in my head that just makes me think I'm not worth it anymore. And so I have to figure that out. But while I'm figuring it out, perhaps I can just start working out,
Hmm.
right? My heart gives me issues. I've had 2 heart attacks, and I should be a lot better at, you know, figuring out what goes in my body, but I'm just being lazy and I'm tired all the time. And part of that is because it's a conundrum, right? The juxtaposition is I'm tired all the time and I'm lazy. But if I worked out, I wouldn't be tired all the time and I wouldn't be lazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I loved working out. I loved watching people watch me work out. I was phenomenally strong, crazy, And one of the things is hard. You go from doing 85-pound, flies. Now I'm doing 15-pound flies, right? A 70-pound difference. But nobody knows that. And I have to leave my ego at home, right? I'm so used to being guys watching me. This sounds very pompous, but I was very strong, right? But you watch these guys um, working out, and nobody's paying attention to me. So why should I have this insecurity? I'm a very insecure cat, right? I hope it's okay that I said that.
Sure.
But you know what? It's just we have to treat ourselves nicely. We have to put ourselves first, right? Everybody goes, "Oh, my family's first." Well, sometimes you have to come first, and sometimes it's hard, right? We live in a go walking. Well, I'd love to go walking, but it's cold enough to kill a penguin.
Mm-hmm.
The hell do you mean go walking? I go outside and my tongue sticks to my teeth because it's so bloody cold, and that. So I'm really good at making excuses. But you know what the funny thing is? If somebody said, "Hey Taz, I'll give $10,000 to a charity if you get in great shape," well, then I'm doing it for the charity. I'd be all over that,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, not as much as if "Hey Taz, I'll give $10,000 to charity if you eat 127 chicken wings." It's not even the record.
You've
And
eaten
you,
that
how's
many
your health?
chicken wings?
I think it was 127 wings. They were the little guys, right? They're just the little wings.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a number of years ago. I'm trying to remember who I was with. And the lady came up. She goes, "I think you set the record." I go, "Oh, for what?" "Well, we have a chicken wing eating contest. You must be proud of yourself." I go, "I didn't even know I was entered. I was just eating." Because it was all you can eat for 20 some dollars or whatever. That's how long ago it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the chicken wings and beer you could drink. So I just, yeah, for sure. And we just spent a bunch of days there, or not a bunch of days there, sorry, a bunch of hours there. And I was just eating wings and talking away. And so this is my buddies kept going, "No, I'm full." I'm not full. What, did you eat the bones? The hell's wrong with you? Right? So my health is not great. And it's funny because I know the correlation between mental health and physical health is immense.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell other people what to do and how to do it. I just, that whole thing, physician heal thyself, right? I just figure it's going to just happen. Same reason some mechanics have the broken down car, because busy doing other things for other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have great advice I never listen to.
And why is that?
Oh, because I also know I'm an asshole. So what am I going to listen to? This guy? No, I don't know why it is. I don't know. I know that I'm happier now that I'm clean and sober because I was using adulation instead of alcohol, right? I was filling the hole in my heart that was missing with the self-adulation. And now that I've been sober for a long enough time, it feels like that's just gone through the wayside. And I actually, as much as I joke about it, I do not have an answer for why I can't take my own advice.
Mm.
I'll probably come up with a reason, but
Or an excuse.
Well, an excuse. Well, I mean, here's what my sons will say to me, or Lala will say to me, or even some of my buddies. What advice would you give somebody going through the same thing you're going through? I'm like, well, shut up. I don't want to hear my own advice, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier just to wallow than it is to change.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yep. And then all of a sudden you're not wallowing anymore. And away we go. Right?
Yeah.
I don't love myself very much. I think that's the biggest thing. I watch other people love me and other people have this great adulation for me. And I think I lived too much in the past where I've hurt so many people. Uh, and, uh, my ex-wife, who's one of my best friends, she said to me the other day, "Stop reminding me of things that I've forgiven you for."
Mm.
And I went, "Yeah, I can forgive a lot of people, just can't forgive myself." And
That's
if I could, then that would be like the number one thing that I would do, right? Is wake up every morning grateful to be alive.
and you don't?
I sometimes do. So it's weird. I'll lay there and I meditate for a little bit, and I say to the universe, "Thank you for this day, thank you for this, and thank you for that." And then I get out of bed, and it's like switch gets flipped, and the anxiety starts pouring in, going, "Oh, try not to screw today up. Try not to do this. Try not to be all fuck you doodle. Try not to. Try not to. Try not to. Try not to." And yeah,
I know that feeling.
yeah, I let myself down a lot more than anything else. Why? I can keep a promise to everybody but myself. I have no problems breaking a promise to myself, and that's something that's been around for 55 years, right? So, well, I shouldn't say that because I think children have this innate ability to understand that they can do anything they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then around age 6 and 7, they start doubting that because people tell us, "Oh, you can't do that." Like somewhere around here, there's a picture of a penis, and it's not a penis. It is Wee Beast. I'm trying to see. I have pictures up all over my office here. So Wee Beast, and we're sitting around one day, and Joshy, my oldest, said, "Oh, I need a picture of a unicorn." I said, "Oh, I'll try to draw a unicorn." So I tried to draw it. I didn't look like it. It was okay. Whatever. It's okay. And Joshy tried doing one. Wee Beast goes, "I can do it." He was little, right? There. That's a unicorn. Oh, it's very good. It just looked like a penis. And so I want to start a YouTube channel called "It's Not What You Think."
Mm-hmm.
This picture is not what you think. Because all these little kids' pictures, oh my lord, some teachers will be like, "I have a collection of them, let me show you."
Mm-hmm.
And so the innate ability to have the belief in yourself that you can do anything is something that is sort of forced out of us at a young age. And I think that I really believe that you can achieve anything that you believe you can given the right parameters. Right? Now, how far can you achieve it? Right? I'm probably not going to be a world-class pole vaulter, right? Because there's not a lot of 280-pound pole vaulters or whatever I weigh now.
Not yet.
And not yet. No, but can you imagine?
He will now attempt 3 feet.
Yes. Here he is coming in. It looks like he's on. Is that a Kubota he's on? This is perfect. Right? But you know what? It shouldn't stop me from trying for a number of reasons. One, when you try and you fail, you've tried. When you fail, you learn. And 3, can you imagine how hilarious it would be?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The coach would be like, "Okay, here's what you do. You take this pole, and I want you to run down that there, and then you put it in the run." Yeah, we're out. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
We're good. Right? Can somebody saunter with me? Perfect. I want you to go down there. I want you to mosey down there. But you know what? It is. I keep saying it is what it is. That's actually what my license plate on my truck says. But it really is what it is. I need to love myself more. So I'm trying to explore that. Wouldn't it be great if we could see ourselves through the eyes of others that love us?
Oh, I know.
If I could see myself through the eyes of the crowd last night, I wouldn't have. I got off the stage. I said, "Oh, it's a solid 5.5 or 6 out of 10." And Lala's like, right? It's because I just, that's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the crowd came up afterwards and they standing ovation, and it was awesome yesterday. It's wonderful. And then we raised money, and I'm an auctioneer as well, so we auctioned off two chefs to come to your house, and two chefs to come to your house for you and up to 10 people. And my first thought is, I don't have enough plates for everybody. What the hell, right? I have to go to Earl's and get some more knives. And the one lady said, I bought it. And she said, I bought it, but I want you and Lala to come as my guests too. That's the. And I went, okay. Do you want me to serve people? No, I just want you as a guest. I don't want you to do a show. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to be a guest. And I thought, well, that's very lovely, right? But I have lost the ability to see myself in a positive light. It's not always. There are days where I'm like, good job, Tazzy, right? And there are other days where, you piece of shit. Why are you existing? Who are you fooling? What do you know? You're not funny. You keep doing the same stuff over. You have a brain injury because the universe doesn't want you to do this anymore. La 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 bullshit. Right? So I'm still working on it, buddy. I'm only 55. I don't have all the answers yet.
56, you will.
Good. This is 56. This is year for 56. It'd be perfect.
There you go. When's your birthday?
August 4th. I am a Leo.
August 4th.
Yep. I'm a Leo, and I'm a triple extra large or double extra large, depending on the sweater. So whatever you want to get me, it's awesome. Comic books are good. Go to 204 Comic Books and get me a thing from Ashley. Get me
204 Comic Books?
Yeah, 204 Comics is my. There's a couple of comic book stores in town, Galaxy Comics and 204 Comics, and 204 Comics is my go-to because I live closer to there, and Ashley, the owner, is just a fantastic guy, and I collect weird stuff. I don't care about superhero stuff. I love old cartoon stuff. I love, like today there was a comic book show, and I found a Snagglepuss #1. I was over the moon. Over the moon. There were guys there that had really expensive superhero stuff, and I'm like, I buy superhero stuff so I can take it, get it pressed and cleaned, sent out for grading. I bring it back, and then I sell it for cartoon stuff. Unfortunately, the stuff that I collect is incredibly rare and hard to find because, especially in higher grade, because so comic books were originally made for adults. Adult fantasy, that's where, and then amazing adult fantasy was a comic book that had one issue left. It was issue number 15, and so Stan Lee said, well, I'm going to put this character in it, and his bosses go, nobody's going to want to see this character, and it's the first appearance of Spider-Man. And Spider-Man has become synonymous with superheroes and proper superheroes. He was a teenager. He had problems. He's not lucky in love. His uncle was murdered and all this sort of stuff. And I love this story. It hit out of the park, and people loved the character. And then the owner of the company, the boss, came and said, "Hey," to Stan Lee, he said, "Hey, remember that character we really loved that we put in Amazing Fantasy number 15? Yeah, let's give him his own book." And the character we both loved. Oh, that's fine. And they put it in that comic book because it was going to be the last issue, so they didn't care what they put into it, right? Well, guess what? Look at it's Spider-Man alone is a multi-billion-dollar, industry, right? And Marvel comic books is amazing, but I don't care too much about superhero stuff.
No, me neither.
And then the cartoon stuff is hard to find in good condition because kids read it over and over again and over and over again. And so they got destroyed. So when you find, like, I just picked up a couple of Flintstone books that were 9.6, graded 9.6 out of 10, which is unheard of. It's crazy. And there's never they had been put away, or their file copies or something like that. But so the hunt is on for really cool cartoon stuff. I used to love it because I was the only one collecting cartoon stuff, and now other people are now just driving the price up and get out of my lane.
I've got uh, I've got Ren and Stimpy,
Oh yeah, Steve, you idiot!
number 1
Ren,
through 23, I think, and they're all
nice.
bagged and boarded.
Oh, nice. Well, here, let me listen here. These are comic books,
Oh wow!
and these are comic books all over here.
Holy man!
Fall down. Oh yeah, and that's about a third of what I've got. Maybe a little bit. Oh no, let's get this where it needs to be. So that's this is my basement office and studio for recording stuff, and then upstairs I have I think 25 boxes of slabbed stuff, and then out this door that's right there, it's actually here. Let me show you. There's more comic books there,
Oh
so
wow!
it's all yeah, probably yeah.
Are
And
they
an alarm
insured?
and an alarm. Oh yeah, they're insured, and I have cameras everywhere, and I have an alarm system that's second to none, and yeah, so they are insured. Yes, sir.
What's your most valuable comic?
I have probably I have a Spider-Man number one, graded 4 or 5. I have so that's and I've got what else do I have? I've got a Hulk 181, which is a first appearance of Wolverine. I got a few copies of that, and yeah, those are I got some investment comics, those stuff like that. First appearance of Loki, first appearance of Thor, first appearance of Moon Knight, first appearance of many different things. People, how do you not remember your comics? I go, I don't care, but I also have a a Casper number one from 1949, which is probably rarer than those other ones.
Really?
Yeah, because the Amazing Fantasy 15 and that sort of stuff. There's lots of them on the CGC census, but there's very few of these other things. I have a couple that I think I've got one book. I think it's the only one on the census or something like that too as well. But I just wish I knew when I was 15 and stuff how to collect these and keep them.
Yeah.
I also buy comics for some high end people, some people that have very deep pockets. So I've got to hold pretty much every major, um, you know, action comics number one I've had in my hand. Amazing Fantasy 15 many times over, Spider-Man number one many times over for other people, but not Fantastic Four number one, Hulk number one, Daredevil number one. I've had and most of them really great.
Can you
So
name names?
I cannot. The first thing we do is sign an NDA so that nobody knows that I'm buying for them, and nobody knows that. So they don't tell that I'm buying for them, and they don't want me to name names for a couple of reasons. One, they don't want people to know what books they have, but it's a couple people that you'd recognize the name of for sure. But and if mostly you'd never know. One of my favorite things is there was a fella who I used to buy. It hasn't been much lately, but he used to buy the original artwork. So he would say, "Hey, I'm going to this place. Here's this auction. Here's my limit. And if it goes over that, and you think it's a good deal, then get it for me, right?" So some of the interior art he has and some of that, but he also loves the original paintings from some of this artwork as well. So the covers, I've got him the covers of Tarzan and some really great 1950s and 40s, that those painted covers that were so amazing from some of the horror books and stuff. Just crazy great stuff.
Hmm.
And that's some guy. That guy, he pissed me off huge because there's a book called Enchanted. Not a book, sorry, a painting called Enchanted, and it was painted for a 1950 magazine, and it's a TV, and these three kids in their pajamas and the blue light of the TV, and they're just staring at the TV. And it's called Enchanted. And I showed him a picture of that and said, I'm saving up for this at this particular gallery. And then I finally had the money for it. It was only $3,500, and which is still a lot of money. But back then, that was, you're getting $200 a show, and yeah,
Did you get it?
I went to buy it, and somebody bought it a day
Oh,
before.
no.
Yeah, and then I dropped paintings off to this guy, and the some bitch has got it on his wall.
Oh, it was him.
It was him.
And you told him about it.
I had told him about it, but I also didn't.
Bastard.
I know, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't really know that you wanted it," and I just went, "That's okay. It is what it is." I said, put my name on the back of it, and when you kick off, because you're 30 years older than I am almost, then maybe I'll get it as in your will. And he goes, fair enough. So I'm hoping every day he dies. I'm joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Not every day. But it's such a great painting, right? And I love artwork. I had some original artwork from the group of seven that I just sold because it was just sitting in a closet, right? There's no there's only so many square inches on a wall. So it's one of the reasons that I'm going through and getting rid of a lot of the comic books. I'm after 46 specific comics, some of which I don't know. And here's the story. Every time I go, here's the story of a man named Tazzy who has way too many comics according to everyone. So when I turned 8, the year of my 8th birthday, so 75, we went on a trip. And usually the trips were terrible. They were just mom and dad would fight, and dad would beat people up and get drunk and fight bikers and shit like that, right? And a car filled with smoke driving, from Saskatoon where we were living to Calgary and things like that, right? Well, this particular trip, there was no fighting. There was no, even my sister and I, she was 3 at the time, got along. So I got this St. Christopher medal, which has never been off my body except for if I was in the hospital or ambulance or whatever. And I got that for my birthday. And then mom and dad said they're going to go for coffee with my aunt and uncle, which means they're going drinking. And so they gave me $5 and said, there's comic books in that store. I'm like, comic books? And I go, comic books are 15 cents each. And so I pulled out 46 of the comics. And I said, I want these comics for $5. He goes, I'm not giving you comics for $5. That's 46, man. And then he looked over and he goes, the hell did you do to my comic book section? I said, I organized it because they weren't in alphabetical order. And I cleaned it up. He goes, wow, how long have you been here? I said, a couple hours. He goes, that's close enough. You can have those 46. So he took my $5 bill and I took my 46 comics. And I want to get those 46 comics back. The problem is I don't remember what all 46 are until I see one. I go, oh, that was it.
Well,
there's been a few times where I was on my own at 15. So everything I owned was outside. I came home one day and everything I owned that was mine was outside, and it happened to be pouring rain. So everything got wrecked.
Okay.
So that was that. And so I've always loved comics. So I think I've got like 7 or 8, maybe 11. I'll have to check because I made a list of the ones that I remembered, but it wasn't until, I was watching Heritage Auctions, which is a large auction house. And, a Yellow Claw #1, that was one of the ones. And I'm like, oh, 5,000. So maybe not today.
Wow.
Right? Oh, yeah, a couple of them. One was GSX #1 was, Giant Size X-Men #1, first appearance of the X-Men. Because I love certain types of comics. I love certain artists, and I love it's the artwork of the comics, right? Like I just got my favorite Hot Stuff comic that I've been waiting forever and ever to get. It's one of my 46, and I finally found it. It's awesome. So it's just a, and look, Taz has pictures. It just is such a cool, cool comic, and it's nothing great. It's not super valuable. Oops,
Oh, went away.
yeah, there it is. And that's the comic right there. It's
Ah.
just full of color and fun.
I remember Hot Stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what the best part is? When you meet Lala, she's got that same smile and squinty eyes smile.
Oh,
so she's
okay.
got this lovely. So the same guy that did Hot Stuff did Casper,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I
Warren,
can see
right?
that.
And so I find, Casper's, a couple of the Caspers were the ones that I had, and Casper #1 was one of my 46. And when I found it, it was so hard to find. And
Do you ever check on eBay?
I do. I'm on eBay every day, looking for certain things, selling certain things, and I don't like selling on eBay because the fees are great, but I don't mind buying on eBay if they have what I want.
Mhm.
Apparently, yep.
Yeah, the seller fees. I've sold some stuff on eBay, and the seller
Yeah.
fees are usually not very fair.
No, they're not. And then one of the things they do, which pisses me off to no extent, is they take a percentage of the shipping. And what the hell do you mean take a percentage of the shipping?
Mhm.
It just went up again. A box, one of those large boxes now costs $22.
Mm.
So if I charge $22 for shipping, and you take a percentage of that, jackass, how am I supposed to? My shipping is now less than what. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to say, okay, figure out, okay, you're going to take, whatever percentage of shipping, say it's 10%. So now I got to go, okay, instead of 22, I got to make it 25, so that when you take your 10%, it's back down to 22,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's ridiculous. And don't get me started on the fact that I wrote a joke a while ago that said, I'm glad we have free healthcare in Canada because our postal rates make me sick. It's ridiculous. Guys in the States, they ship me car parts, and it comes cheaper than me to ship a small book, right? I got car parts one time from Corpus Christi, Texas, and it was a giant box. And I looked at it, and it was less than what I spent shipping 2 comic books to a guy in Saskatoon.
Really?
It was ridiculous. But anyway, if elected, I will change all that.
My people.
I am not a crook. But I mean, it is what it is. We're talking about a lot of stuff on this podcast. It's
No
awesome.
kidding.
If you have comic books, please go to BigDaddyTazz.com and get a hold of me, and I will look through them for you and help you appraise them. And in exchange for that, I want first right of refusal. That's all.
There you go.
Oh, or you can hire me and I will appraise them, but it costs you money to have me do that too, because it's hours and hours and hours. And I love getting a deal, but not at the price of my integrity. So I don't rip people off because I think it's bad karma.
You believe in karma?
I 100% believe in karma.
Yeah, me too.
If every bad thing that happened to me, I can trace back to, okay, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Jenkinson is a very funny comedian, and he has a great joke he did last night. He goes, I believe in karma. So if I'm being rude to you, you deserved it. Yeah, I believe in karma. I love the universe for most times. I believe everything happens for a reason, and I'm comfortable with that, but never while it's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I do get pissed off at the universe for stealing children away from us, and when there's so many other assholes that are ripe for the picking.
Very true. Very true.
Yes, sir.
We got about 10 minutes left.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy smokes, I didn't think I could talk for 2 hours. you've said 9 words in this whole thing. Really? Good job, Taz. Keep it. I think at one point in time you actually just left, and I was just talking. I mean, is this a cardboard cutout? I got to make you laugh, so my job here is complete.
Your job is complete, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Um, Before we do go in 10 minutes,
Yes, sir.
or there we could go longer, who knows? Um, we should, for those that have tuned in, because the way I promoted this was Tazzy's coming on to discuss mental health.
Oh yeah, did we do that?
Well, we did it at the beginning and through the middle, and then we got into the comedy, and then we went into comic books, and
Yeah. These are a few of my favorite things.
yes. Can you recommend people who have tuned in who are struggling
Mhm.
some of your choice resources for help
Mm-hmm.
for mental
I
health?
think it's important to be open. The number one resource you're going to have is going to be yourself. The number one resource you're going to have. The number one thing you need to do. The first step is ask for help. People think that asking for help is somehow weak. It's not make you weak. It makes you stronger. It is the most terrifying thing that you can do, because what if somebody says no, or what if somebody says you don't need help, or what if they say help with what, right? So when you ask for help, it is actually the most courageous thing that you can do, and then follow through, right? So talk to your doctor. If your doctor won't recommend you for a psychiatrist, you get another doctor. We were just talking about this with some friends who said, my doctor won't recommend me to get a psychiatrist. I said, you need a different doctor. Well, you can't just dump doctors. Yes, you can, and you should. If the doctor's not listening to you, you get a different doctor, and if that one's not listening to you, you get a different doctor. And then be open about it. Talk to people around you that you trust. If you say that you're struggling and you're depressed, and somebody goes, what do you have to be depressed for? Well, here's the deal. It's time for you to go home on your bus. You're not in my life anymore. I'm not saying I'm gonna cut you out forever and ever, all men, but I'm not gonna share with you that I'm struggling, because it doesn't matter why I'm struggling. Your response to me should be, how can you help? How can I help you? What do you need from me? And those of you that are afraid that to get involved, here's what people that are living with mental health need: an ear, and a couple arms, and a shoulder. We need an ear for you to listen. We don't want you to tell us a diagnosis. We don't want you to tell us everything's going to be okay. We don't want you to tell us anything else. We just want you to unload our baggage for a little while and have you carry it for us for a couple minutes. And if I trust you enough, maybe we'll go through those baggage and figures out which suitcases are empty and I don't need to carry anymore because they're actually my mother's. And when we ask you for help, we just want you to listen. That's all. Maybe cry with us. And we'll cry because of a number of reasons. We're relieved. We're relieved that somebody cares enough about us to listen. And when I ask you to listen, I'm not asking you to wait for your turn to talk. I just want you to listen. You see, sometimes by just unburdening oneself, it gives yourself a direction to go in. We need two arms. One to hold us, and the other one to hold us in a hug. To high five us when we are worried about life and you're like, you got this. We're good. One to hold the phone when you need to talk to us. And we need a shoulder. Sometimes a shoulder to hit because we're mad, and sometimes a shoulder to cry on because we're so lost. We're not asking you to draw a map for us. We're asking people to understand that I trust you enough to tell you how I'm truly feeling without using a 4-letter F word, which is fine. There's lots of resources out there. There's the Canadian Mental Health Association. There's mood disorders. There's online help you can get. You have to champion for yourself. You have to love yourself enough to say, hey, listen, and never forget how a kind word can change somebody's world. How about talking about it can change somebody's life. Many years ago, and I don't remember the date because nothing pays rent in my head, I was doing a show for in Sioux Lookout. Sorry, Sault Ste. Marie. It was Sault Ste. Marie. Or was it Sioux Lookout? Doesn't matter. My OCD is like, tell it. So we're doing a show. It was a last-minute show. Getting there was a nightmare. The flights were all goofy doodle and da-da-da. And then I get on and, they didn't have, they had a big space before the crowd, and it just wasn't great. And I went through, everything was telling me, don't do this, just don't bother, just walk away. I was having a shit day myself. But my friend Sandy had hired me. She's a promoter. And so we do this. I do the show, and at the end, and it goes very well. It goes really well. Standing ovation, and everybody's waiting around for hugs afterwards because I hug everybody. And I see this one fella just sort of hanging out. And he's just waiting there, and people are coming up, and he steps forward, and then somebody else. So he goes to go away, and I said to these people, I said, hey, just hang on for a second. I want to talk to this fella. I said, hey, were you waiting to talk? He goes, yeah, I was just waiting to talk. And I said, hey, how are you? He goes, I'm good. And he said, I didn't know there's other people like me like this. And he goes, and I only take my medication because my doctor and my wife forced me to do it. I said, well, you know what? Your doctor and your wife are keeping you alive. And I'll never forget this. When he says, no, he gave me a hug. And he goes, no, you did that. I was going to kill myself today when I got home because I was done. He said, but instead, I'm going to go home. I'm going to tell my wife. We're going to go to the doctor. And I'm not leaving until they commit me. Because I know that it's like you said, it's just passing. It just feels like it's going to be forever. And I turned around, and he gave me a hug, and he walked away. And I turned and I said, I'll be right back. And I went into the back room of the hotel, where they threw the doors to the hallway. And I just I just started crying. And I thought I was alone. And I turned, and the organizer and Sandy, the booker, and somebody else from the hotel were there crying too, because they had witnessed that. And it never ceases to amaze me when I think that I'm not doing the right thing. I have people reach out. The universe or whatever powers that be have it lets me know that that's where I'm supposed to be doing. And so when somebody is struggling and you see they're struggling, ask them. And if they say everything's fine, don't listen to that word. Ask them again. And if you know something's wrong, then ask somebody that they love. Because I don't know if you know this, but it's way better to lose a friendship than a friend. I wish I didn't know that, but I do. And the amount of times that I thought about taking my life or attempted to, I used to be embarrassed. But now I'm glad that I see that that's not the answer. Life is going to be different each day. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. But you just have to reach out and love yourself. I start every day this way. I wake up, I have a giant smile. You see, if you close your eyes right now and then you smile, as big as you can, you see flashes of light behind your eye. So there's light in there. We just can't see it sometimes. There's never a reason to take a short lifespan and make it shorter. My son told me that. My 15-year-old son said, because there was a friend of ours' son took his life. And I said, I need you to tell me if you ever feel like that. He said, Daddy, my life is too short. I wouldn't want to make it shorter. And that's because we talk about our mental health here. You see, talking saves lives, and so does listening. There's no reason to hate yourself forever. So you reach out, you ask for help. There's lots of resources. You know, I have to go on medication. I don't want to go on medication. It's going to change me. Good. That's what we want. You see, I break my leg. They tell me to go to a doctor. I chip my tooth. They tell me to go to a dentist. I have a broken down car. They tell me to go to a mechanic. I say I have a broken heart. People go, I don't know where to go. Doctor. It's an illness. It's called mental illness. People forget the illness part. They think only about the mental part. Mental means it's in your head, so it can't be too bad. It is. It's terrifying. It's demoralizing. It can be scary. But it's worth it. It's work. It's really hard work sometimes. CBT with cognitive behavioral therapy, which will change your life, is a lot of work. But so is everything else that we need. The amount of time that I take to make excuses not to do stuff, I could have already done what I was supposed to do. Right? You surround yourself with people that love you, not people that bring you down. And it's okay to have acquaintances that don't understand your mental health. You just don't share with them. Right? You use them when you need them to move stuff. But it's important to love yourself. I've lost that love for myself. I'm trying to find it again. But I know it's there somewhere. Because there are times where I'm incredibly proud of myself still. And it's not greedy to put yourself first. It's necessary. On the planes, they say, you know, when the oxygen masks are going to come down, put your on first before you help anybody else. Because you have to be healthy before you can help others properly. And it's hard, but you're worth it. You got this. You really do. Anybody that's listening right now, you got this. Anybody listens anytime, you've got this. The world's a game, and guess what? You have the rule book. You just don't know you have it. So always choose to love yourself as much as possible. Here endeth the lesson.
Truer words never spoken.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for having me on your podcast, and I'm glad it worked now.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be really funny if you're like, I didn't hit record. So.
Yeah. No, I check every few seconds to make sure it's recording.
Yes, sir.
If anything can go wrong, it will.
You know what? Everything's going to go wrong eventually. It's just how well you can handle it.
That's right.
Be the laughing plumber. My buddy used to have a friend that was a plumber, and things would go wrong, and the plumber would just laugh. And they go, "Why don't you get upset?" He goes, "For what?"
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to. Right?
And for if anybody's interested in getting a hold of Tazz for booking, if you have an event, a speaking engagement, I'm going to put up on the screen right now.
If you have comic books or something like that.
Yeah. For booking, you can reach Lisa at asktazzy@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Or for booking, right?
For bookings too, any of this you need, just go to Big Daddy Tazz with 2 Z's at gmail .com. My brain just went, hey, I smell chicken wings. I don't, but maybe I should clean my beard. Yeah. So if you want to book me, Big Daddy Tazz, 2Z.com. Easiest way to get a hold of me. Clean comedian and a mental health speaker. Uh, love speaking to kids and students. Going to your school. We have a student self love program. We have something called Big Daddy Taz Running Amok, AMOK, which means actively motivating our kids. And I talk from grade pre K right to university about some of the struggles you're going to have in school. I talk to kids about being open about their emotions, being respectful about when you speak out, and maybe don't call me fat during Kindness Day.
Exactly.
I had one girl tell me one time, you're really heavy, because I'll tell you this quick story. Is that okay if I tell another story?
Yeah, of course.
So we're doing a show many years ago, and it was myself and Weebeast was probably 7 or something, and I took him to reading to the class, and I read a book called Howard B. Wigglebottom Learns About Bullies, and it's a book about these 2 little pigs that incessantly pick on this rabbit, and there's a part in there say, be brave, be bold, the teacher must be told, and the kids chant that with me, and every time the pigs do something, this little girl in the front row, little glasses, pigtails, pink shirt, she goes, oh, those pigs don't have Jesus in their heart. Do those kids they need Jesus in their heart? And at the very end, I was talking about something, and she goes, oh, well, you know what? You can't do that because you're really, really, really fat. I said, oh, do you have Jesus in your heart when you say that? She pushes her glasses up and she goes, it's not Jesus' fault you eat too many hamburgers. Fair enough. And the teacher didn't know what to do. The librarian didn't know what to do. The principal that was with us didn't know what to do. Weebius and I did because we laughed. Oh, it was funny. It's not Jesus' fault you eat too many hamburgers.
Oh, my goodness.
There you go. Little brother, thank you very much for letting me be on your podcast. It's awesome.
Absolutely, and I hope you'll come back.
100%. Now that we got it rolling, how can I say no to Dr. Talk?
Yeah. Okay, Big Daddy.
Okay, Doc.
We call it a night.
We're going to call it a night.
Go eat some chicken wings or something.
I'm going to go eat some chicken because that's what we are making for supper. And I'll get up early tomorrow, and I'm off to Sanford, Manitoba to talk to kids. So
all right.
I'm a happy camper.
All right. Hang tight, Taz. We're going to call it a night right now, folks. So we'll see you next week, next Sunday. I'll post details on Facebook about who the guest is going to be. I already know, but I'm not going to tell you just yet. Good night, peace and love, folks.